Welcome to episode 104 of the High Volume Hiring Podcast, and it's a breaking news episode. So we're publishing a little bit ahead of our normal schedule. I am Stephen Rothberg, the founder of College Recruiter, joined here today by my co-host, Jeanette Leeds. Jeanette,
Hi,
welcome.
everyone. Thank you. Glad to be here for our breaking news. Really excited because our breaking news is all about the state of frontline hiring in the year 2025, even though we're getting close to 2026. So today we're really excited to have Trent Cotton here with us from iCIMS, Head of Talent Acquisition Insights and Analyst Relations. So welcome, Trent. Welcome.
Hello. Good to see you all again.
Good to see you too. I know we just saw
I
each
think
other
that's
at
easily
FX.
the longest job title that we've ever had as
Maybe.
for a guest, right? So
It
apparently
is, and
consonants were free.
well, yes, and I kind of teased my boss. I said you did give the longest title to the guy with the stutter. So yes, which is why a lot of times if I'm doing video, the part that I mess up on is my name and my title because it just gets me every
Just
time.
keep
But
going.
yeah,
That's
fun
awesome.
stuff though.
I love it. I love it. Well, I love that. And then we'll go back to like this whole report that you guys just put out, which is
hmm
why, we're doing breaking news. It is so thorough, full of like great data, benchmarks, themes. So breaking news on that. Um, Maybe just give us like the biggest headline that you guys found through the
Ooh,
research. Biggest headline to start us off.
60% of candidates do not fill your application or do not complete your application. And the largest reason, surprise, is because they find it too complicated.
It's amazing.
I knew it was high, but to be 60%, that's a pretty large stat.
That is, and you know what's interesting? That issue has been going on for how many
Eons.
years, right?
Eons. And
Still,
and you would think that, one of the things that I am absolutely obsessed with is, there's a huge parallel in candidate experience and expectations, along with consumer behavior and consumer expectations. So think about, and today I needed something. I didn't have time to run to the store. What did I do? I went to Amazon. I'm having it delivered here at 6 o'clock.
yep.
It was 4 clicks, and that's including me typing in the search bar.
Yeah.
Candidates have kind of gone, all right, well, if I can do that and spend money, why can't I have that same level of experience trying to get into a new role? And so I do think that stat does say this is a glaring problem that we really need to address, especially on the frontline hiring where time is of the essence.
Exactly.
So I think that I hear from recruiters, sort of the conventional wisdom, I should say, is if we make it too easy, too short of an application process, then I'm going to
Mm,
get a lot of people applying who aren't serious, who actually aren't likely to be qualified, to accept the offer, to stay here, be productive.
mm.
Response?
Bring it.
um,
It's kind of
you
a
know,
rhetorical question, but I'm going to let you answer it
uh,
because you know better than me.
well, but I think, if we were having this discussion probably a year or 18 months ago, I do think that would be a valid concern. However, if we look at what's going on now, what is the other competing story? Fraud applicants,
Mm,
a lot is going on at the top of the funnel. And unfortunately, with all the news that's been broken this week about mass layoffs, that
mm.
top of the funnel is going to get even larger, and the recruiters are about to be pelted by people that just entered into the workforce. So whenever I say streamline the application, I'm not necessarily saying just open up the floodgates. What I'm saying is you don't need their DNA, you don't need their next of kin, you don't need some of the stuff that's in the application to truly determine is this person qualified to do the role. The other aspect, and just went to Gartner Symposium this week, and a very interesting stat about one of the trends, top 7 trends, I think it is, regarding AI and TA. They are really seeing that 2026, where TA is really going to double down and go from experimentation to I can never say the word, operationalizing it, is on frontline hiring. They think that is the greatest lift. They think that candidates, kind of the persona that's applying to frontline hiring and what their expectations are, that AI can meet that. And then on the candidate side of it, we actually found that a lot, especially in Gen Z, they want to showcase their skills, not in an interview, not on a resume, but in an assessment. So if you've got all of this coming in, you've got a streamlined application, your concern is a lot more going on at top of the funnel. If you've got that AI job matching, job assessment going on, then not only is it helping you streamline so that way you're fast tracking top talent, it's also giving that individual an opportunity to say, hey, you're applying for this job here, but your skills based off the assessment, you're actually really good for this over here. So you're enhancing that candidate experience.
I
Yeah.
love that so much, and I agree with where it's all. I agree. That's where it's all heading, and it makes sense, right?
Mhm.
With frontline hiring, because the scale, right? And
Yes.
it's amazing, and you don't need to ask questions like early on, right? If you don't need the social security
Mhm.
number until you're hiring. So just thinking about where in that process you need the information to make the decision based on that part of the process. So yeah, I've been saying that for years.
And
So it's
and
great
if
to
I
hear that. But
can add to that, just to
yeah,
do just a little bit of plug for iCIMS, our recent acquisition of Apply, one of the reasons that we are going headlong into frontline hiring is we're looking at that experience, and most frontline hiring, they don't necessarily have a resume, right?
Yeah.
But
right.
what
And
if you could have a conversational application to where it's like, hey, have you ever done this? And where did you work? And how did you do this? And that AI on the back end is building out everything that you need to from the AI, from the application standpoint or the requirements. It's a different interface. They don't feel like upload this, fill out this form. It's a conversation with a bot that is doing all the heavy lifting. So all that to say, it's not necessarily just cutting your application, it's reimagining what that application experience could be and should be like. That's kind of what I think the data is pointing us to.
absolutely. I love that. One of the big things that I found when I was reading through the report was I realized how there was different industries where you broke it down.
Yeah.
Where, okay, here's what's going on in healthcare. Here's what's going on in manufacturing, hospitality, retail. I actually have it in front of me. I got my notes here. Maybe talk us through. Let's take. I mean, healthcare is such a big
It
portion
really is.
of the hiring recruiting is going on. So let's break down healthcare. What's the big
So what
takeaway
was
there?
really, yeah, so my minor is statistics and finance. So before I got into HR, I
Oh, I
was a
love that.
banker. I love numbers, and I always like getting into the numbers and say,
Totally,
okay,
totally normal background for somebody in HR, right?
I know,
Statistics and
right?
finance. It's like
Yeah.
that's like you went into that and you're like, oh, this is going to lead me into HR. Oh yeah, totally.
Oh, trust me. Yes. Yeah. Never thought that I would end up in HR. And that's why I love my role now, is because it's such a great mix of all the things that I'm really, really passionate about. So whenever I go in and I look at data sets, I always want to say, okay, what is the data telling me? What's that story? I don't go into it going, this is what I think. Let me find the data to prove it. I want to hear from the data. With healthcare, they're losing candidates, not at the top, they're losing the loss peaks after the interview and the offer. So to think about that, you have invested all of this time into this candidate, all of a sudden they drop off. So, you know, I've got some connections with people in healthcare. There's a long process to get an offer approved. And so right now, there's so few candidates that meet some of these needs that if you don't move quick and your competitor does, I mean, as a former TA leader, sometimes all I had was speed. I was not paying the highest. It maybe didn't have the best rep in the market, but I could get an offer to someone in 2 weeks from the time I said hello to the time I was offering. I would have first stab at that top talent. So healthcare is really struggling in that. And as far as the frontline roles, you're talking about like dietary aides, receptionists, patient transport, and these like lives really are at stake in healthcare.
Mhm.
So this is
Yeah,
a
it
very
is.
critical part to
Yeah,
fix, right?
So
absolutely.
I'm really glad, Trent, that you touched on sort of the point of drop off
Hmm.
in the hiring process because When Jeanette and I talked with you a couple of weeks back in Nashville at the RecFest conference, not concert.
Concert. Well, both.
There
A
were
concert. I
stages.
am
It
not a
was
country fan. It was
outdoors,
not a concert.
but it was not a concert. Right. The music was in the
Should be.
evening, not during the day. That was more
Right.
business. But one of the things that we talked about a bit at RecFest was that in different industries, different occupational fields, iCIMS is seeing that drop off at different points. And
Mhm.
that to me was like, that made sense, but I hadn't really thought about it that way. The marketing funnel looks different in different industries. So you've already talked about healthcare, where a lot of that drop off is. Are there industries that you can think of where the drop off is in at a really different point? Maybe even like before the point of application, where the employers wouldn't even know about the candidate.
I think hospitality is the one that has, we call it the leakiest funnel. That's got the highest job abandonment, and so that's one injury. And then the insult to injury is no shows to the interview. So if you can get them through the application process, then there's a no show on the interview. And a lot of what was cited is that the long forms and the long process, or what the candidate perceives as being long, if they have an offer from somebody else in the market, they run with it. So hospitality is really suffering. They're kind of tripping over the finish line twice, or they're not even getting to the finish line. They're tripping in the relay race.
So they really need to look at like every part of that process to make sure it's
The
optimized.
Absolutely. And quite honestly, Jeanette, the reoccurring thread through every single solitary sector that we looked at is you need to answer the question as an organization: how do I fast track talent from applying to starting? And whatever that friction point is, you need to just zero in on that and focus on one at a time. Because I think what happens, and I did this whenever I managed for TA for a large organization, and we had a high volume sector, and it can be overwhelming. It's like you're
Yeah.
looking at this wall and you got 42 leaks and you've only got 10 fingers. Like, where do I put it?
Yeah.
I had to learn the hard way, but what I did learn was if I could focus on one problem, and I'm just obsessed with getting that one stage fixed, and I can get it to 90%, then I move on to the next one.
Yeah.
I start to get some momentum, and we start to see some progress. And a lot of times I was able to get the hiring managers or the executive team to see what we were doing, and they stopped being obstacles and started becoming enablers and going, well, heck, if we fix 1 and 2, we can apply these same things and do 3 and 4 at the same time. I'm in, or you in? Absolutely. And I think that's what's happening, is that a lot of the TA teams have been stripped to the bare bones and their workload has not been stripped. And now we've got such a higher, because we do track the applicant per opening, or APO, that
Yeah.
APO is continuing to go up. We've got to find a way that we can streamline that, because if not, then your candidate experience is going to suffer. And sometimes you can never recover from that.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I agree.
breaking down a problem is really important. I like to say that that if you're trying to eat an elephant, you eat it one bite at a time.
Jeez.
Mhm.
Jeanette,
Right, an elephant with taste.
yeah, you want to grab the last quick question?
Yeah, last question, but related to, I think you made such a strong point around, well, I don't want to say eating the elephant, but like tackle one thing, right? One thing. And I,
Mhm.
in my past life, I can't even say what customer, but it was the candidate ghosting that you talked about. And this was,
Oh God, yes.
and that was the one problem that we went to tackle. And it was like, let's just focus on that, get the candidate ghosting to the interview, right? And focus
Mhm.
on that and break it down and like get them there. And making some changes to the tech process is so key.
Right.
And like
Mhm.
little changes can make a big difference. And like cutting down, I think, by a few changes, we were able to change the show rate by 10%, which is actually a big deal. So thinking of all of that in mind, like, and I know there's a lot
Okay.
of great case studies in the report. So
There
maybe
are.
pick like one of your favorite case studies where like, okay, this is a change that happened, or you saw that, like, tell us a story, Trent, is effectively from the report, or maybe something else, and we'll leave it on that. So,
Well, I'm going to pick one where most of my money goes. I've got
yeah.
two French bulldogs, and PetSmart was actually one of the the case study. So they have got over 1,600 stores, and they really kind of took a hard look at their career site and their employer brand, and they wanted to increase match quality and speed. And from a different study, I will tell you the number one thing that candidates want to see and are 100% behind whenever it comes to the topic of AI is job matching.
Yeah.
And PetSmart, they saw a 60% boost in candidate engagement. And I think it was, don't quote me, it was like an 8%, I want to say it's 8% month over month lift in career site. So with that lift and with some of the job matching, they were able to really kind of bring that top talent through the funnel. And there's actually a quote, I've got it here on the screen. It's from one of the manager of TA operations. He said, "There's no longer a line between consumer and employer brands." And that's
Mm.
kind of what I was hinting at before.
Sure.
If you really want to enhance your experience, look at what's your favorite shopping experience, and how do you emulate that in your own experience. Look at some of the tools that they're using. It doesn't necessarily have to be HR tech. It could be something else that can help
Right.
you do the same thing. Zapier automations. There's a ton out there, but I really think that if you get frontline hiring done right, the rest of the organization falls in line because the lessons you learn there,
Mhm.
I always apply to the knowledge workers. It was just exacerbated because of the volume on the frontline hiring, but there was always some type of a jewel knowledge that I could bring over to the rest of the organization.
And as
Love that.
as PetSmart knows, you don't want that candidate experience to be rough.
Oh,
I
jeez.
know.
Oh,
That was
Oh,
a
good
really
God.
bad dad
you're
joke.
welcome. That was a good dad joke.
I walked right into that one.
You
I was like, oh,
did.
yeah,
Thank you,
wait,
Trent.
She's like,
Thank
what
you.
did
wait,
you say?
Thank you.
wait.
This has been awesome. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, this episode will be going live like right after Halloween. We're recording right before Halloween. So
So hopefully
Yeah, we
everybody,
talk about all the
hopefully you
scary
get
stuff and then publicize it, right?
so hopefully you get the treats that you want and none of those like nasty ones and like give it to the kid next door.
and this will be the great treat if you need smart data, right? Like you want to compare,
Yes,
download this report. Like again, just going back to the fact that you're a data geek, I'm a data geek. Like this, the benchmarks and the data
Yeah.
is just invaluable.
And
So
and link link the
absolutely. And just
link to the report in the
and
show notes too
yeah,
for folks listening
yeah,
to the
and
audio
and
only version.
we also do a free monthly report where we
Oh
look at
yeah.
the three trend lines. So applications, openings, and hires. We each month we kind of take a different subject and kind of dig down into it. So like August was all about what's really going on in TA orgs with AI and what do candidates think about it. Of course, when we release this one in September or October, our workforce report kind of brought in some of the frontline hiring. So all of these are free resources. This is stuff that I would have given my right arm for as a TA leader because I was always going, I think we're producing well. I think we're doing okay, but I had nothing to compare it to. iCIMS, we just have a commitment to the TA industry and to all organizations to take data, turn it into insights, so that way the insights drive your strategy.
And
love
kudos for not putting it behind a paywall. Like if you click on the link in the show notes, you click on or go to the QR code, you go to the iCIMS page, there's a button to download. That's it. You don't hand over an
Yep.
email address, your DNA, your childhood nickname, any of that kind of stuff. There is an option to subscribe, so you don't have to remember to come back each month. It's very, very, very user friendly.
You're
So
talking about
kudos.
a
We
good
try.
candidate experience.
Yes,
It's
exactly.
like
Yeah.
you're eating your own dog food. Back to the pet smart.
We try.
Oh,
There we
thanks. Nice
go.
dad
Oh
joke,
wow.
Jeanette.
Now see, I feel like I should do one. I feel left out now, and you got me late in the day. My creativity is gone for the day.
Oh, I'm just getting started. So
Oh wow.
Yeah. Well,
awesome. Well, Trent,
thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
This was
This
awesome.
this has been awesome.
Until
Awesome.
next
Thank you
time.
so much.
Okay.
Cheers,
Take
Trent.
care, everyone.
Bye.